Don't be sorry. Not for a second. We all do. That's what we do. Richard, Mr. Lowry, it's your turn. You've done it, haven't you?
Yeah.
I do it every time I sit down and write.
Every time I get up and talk.
As I said earlier today, I started doing this to tell the stories of the brave American men and women who are fighting for us in the global war on terror. And I don't do it for political reasons. I do it for the same reason as we've heard from several other authors just a few minutes ago, to document their stories for posterity. These stories need to be told. We need to understand. We, as the military historians, we're more interested than most of the American public, but I do it so that the American public can understand the sacrifices that our youngest, bravest generation of Americans are making for you and me and for our families. So that being said, I have just finished the manuscript of my book on the Battle of Fallujah. And most people, when you say Fallujah, the term that comes to mind is, oh, very bad. And that's about it. Nobody knows how bad Fallujah was. It was one of the most fiercest battles in American history. And I've documented that in my next book, New Dawn. And I've spent all afternoon trying to pick a selection that I could read in a short few minutes that would convey to you what our young Americans went through in the Battle of Fallujah in November and December of 2004, excuse me. There were 3 Americans, 2 Marines and 1 soldier who was nominated for the Medal of Honor in that battle. The 2 Marines have been downgraded to Navy crosses. The 1 soldier, Staff Sergeant David Belabea, is still waiting to hear if he will receive a Medal of Honor for his actions. And if I were to vote, he should get the Medal of Honor. And that story is in my book as well. But there were 7 Navy crosses awarded and 28 silver stars in that short 6-week battle. I haven't even been able to count how many Bronze Stars with Valor. This was a battle to go down in history. And I've picked just a short excerpt from my new book to try to convey to you what our young men and women went through in the Battle of Fallujah. Now there's a lot of names here that were introduced previously, and please bear with me, just pretend like you know who these people are. Lee, DeCossey, Myers, Markley led Cunningham's Marines down several small alleyways. They pulled into one of the narrow alleys just west of the candy store. And an Amtrak, minus First Sergeant Fry, followed Lee's tanks between the buildings before Sergeant DeCossey could pull in behind him. One of Alpha Company's squad leaders, Sergeant William Leo, and Staff Sergeant Ricardo Sebastian followed Lee into the alley. As soon as Lee made the small S-turn about 50 meters from Michigan, the enemy opened fire from side streets and every window in sight. They had set a complex ambush with mass surprise fires and had been waiting for Marines to approach. RPGs bounced off Lee's tank, and the enemy's small arms fire harmlessly pinged off the tank's thick skin. Sebastian took cover at the corner of a nearby building. Leo ducked behind Lee's tank and picked up the grunt phone. Lee's M1 was a bullet magnet. Every insurgent in every window zeroed in on the tank. Leo yelled into the phone, "Destroy everything from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock. Cunningham's infantrymen were pinned down in the small alleys. Lee barely had room to traverse his turret. They were fighting in close quarters. Lee needed DeCossey, his wingman, to protect his flanks. But DeCossey could not get in behind his boss. The Amtrak blocked his path. Around the corner, behind Lee, Captain Cunningham was on the ground trying to get the track to back up in the narrow alley. Lee was firing as fast as he could. Corporal Rios slewed his turret as far as he could to the left, found a target, and let loose with his main gun. While his loader, Lance Corporal Matthew Savald, reloaded, Rios slewed the turret slowly to the right, spraying coax gunfire. Lee continued to fire his 50 caliber machine gun. As soon as Savald finished loading the new main gun round, he announced, "Ready." Rios stopped the turret and aimed the main gun. Boom. Another 120 millimeter shell slammed into a nearby buildings, and Rios resumed slewing and spraying his 7.62 bullets, while Savald reloaded again. By now, Leo had returned to the corner of the building with Sebastian. He took a knee and fired at muzzle flashes ahead. Sebastian stood above Leo, firing too. An insurgent jumped into Haji Alley and fired an RPG at Lee's tank. Sebastian answered with a SMAW. A SMAW is an American rocket. Leo and Sebastian continued to fire until they were nearly out of ammunition, providing Lee's only security. Then a bullet snapped past Sebastian's head. He pulled back around the corner for a second. That would have really hurt, he thought. Had the bullet found its target, it would have killed him. Nearly out of ammo, Sebastian sprinted south, leaving Leo at the corner of the building. Excuse me. He ran up to Captain Cunningham and Lieutenant Barnes and grabbed all of their magazines, stuffed them into his pockets, and ran back to Leo. Lee's tankers continued to fight for an hour, slewing, shooting, and reloading, firing 30 main gun rounds, 8,000 7.62 shells, and 4,000 50 caliber rounds. Lee was starting to run out of ammunition. Fortunately, he had extra boxes of ammo on top of his tank. All he had to do was reach out of the tank and grab the boxes. Lee popped his head out of the turret and saw a sniper in the building just to his right. The sniper was aiming directly at him. The insurgent pulled the trigger, and Lee felt a burning in his bicep. It felt like his arm was on fire, like it was melting off. Lee grabbed his ammo and dragged it down into the turret. As Rios worked to stop the bleeding, Savald took the ammo and started reloading and working to replace the machine gun's hot carbon-fouled barrel. Rios grabbed a roll of duct tape and wrapped it tightly around Lee's wound. Lee got on the radio to his wingman. "I need you here in front of me now," Lee ordered. "I don't care how you do it, but you better be in front of me in 30 seconds or you're fired." DeCossie's driver gunned his engine. He smashed through a wall, plowed the giant tank between two buildings, knocking the corner off the house, and thundered through another wall, exploding into an alley, guns blazing in front of Lee's tank in less than 10 seconds. Now that both tanks sprayed the enemy's positions with main gun and machine gun rounds, as Lee and DeCossie slowly pushed 20 feet forward, Cunningham's Marines rushed into the first building. Once the building was cleared, Barnes's Marines jumped to the next rooftop, and Lee and DeCossie pushed another 20 feet forward, with Leo and Sebastian following closely on the ground. They fought that fight all day long and all night long, pushing their way through Fallujah.